Yeah, probably. So my parents are moving to North Wales, and I want to see what that place is like. But it looks amazing. It's like right by the sea, right on the border of Snowdonia. Oh man, I'm so excited for them. We basically all just my younger sister just moved out of the house, so it's actually quite boring for a podcast for everyone to listen to this, but but so.
Indeed, my guest today is Jack Suddaby, aka Sudders. Now, in this episode, we talk quite a lot about Jack's music, which is phenomenal. Since we recorded this episode, he actually has put out another track called Lonesome, which is one of the most beautiful things I've ever heard. So you definitely need to go and check out his music. But he's also a podcaster, a very good podcaster. He's also got his own podcast production company called Beautiful Strangers, which are putting out some brilliant things. So that is also well worth checking out. It's actually quite annoying that he's so young and so talented and seems to have the world at his feet and is already achieving great things. And then on top of it, and it's a bit of a theme for this series, he seems to be insanely humble and down to earth and a really cool person. So again, very lucky with the guests that I've got, and Sudders is absolutely a brilliant person to be talking to. So yeah, enjoy the episode, check out everything that he's up to, and here it is, Sudders' Wonders of the World.
One of the things I wanted to ask you today was that a conscious decision that you were going to put something out there that was quite personal and sort of that people could relate to on that level, or did that come easily? Is that something you had to put effort into?
Yeah, it was definitely conscious. Yeah, I think my favorite kind of music is just when like artists are vulnerable and they're honest and they talk about their life, their real life. You know, sometimes when you hear like a rapper and you think, oh, they didn't really live like that. It happens a lot in the UK hip hop as well, and it's just like, just don't buy it. So I thought, I've just got to write about stuff that's actually happened to me and things that are personal to me, and then hopefully people can relate to it. So yeah, it was really conscious. Yeah.
And were there any points where you got to the edge of where you were comfortable with that? Was there stuff that you wrote and you thought, actually, that's a bit too close, I can't put that out there? Or did it all make it on there?
It's funny because probably when I make it, I don't think about it, because it's like, at the moment, it's just me in my bedroom making it, you know? So it's not like, it's not instantly released to the world. But then once it's done, that's when I'm like, oh, okay, actually, listening back, this line is a bit... Like, there's a song on the album called Father in the Mist, and it's basically about my parents breaking up, but then getting back together. And it got to like right before releasing, and I was like, oh my God, like this is quite a personal thing. I need to speak to my family about this. Like, I need to make sure they're okay with it. Imagine if they listen to it and were like, Jack. So I sent it to them, and they were really sweet. They were just like, yeah, it's absolutely fine. Like, it's the truth. Like, you tell the truth. It was really amazing, really. They didn't say it. They didn't critique anything. And they were just really happy that I was doing something like that. So yeah, that was the only song really. The rest is like, I think I'm a bit of an oversharer anyway. So it just comes out. Yeah, I don't mind.
I'm guessing whenever you've done something you've put a lot of time and effort and energy into, there's the bit where you make it, and then there's the bit where you throw it out into the world. And I'm guessing when you've sort of given yourself over to it so much and you sort of are exposing yourself a little bit, I'm guessing it makes that second part of the process possibly even more daunting, or does it make the reception that you get for what you've done? Do you think, how have you found that in terms of the response that you've got?
The response has been amazing. It's been really amazing. I've had so many people like message me saying they really love it. People saying like, oh, this song, like Breathe in particular, a lot of people say, this song really like hits home and made me like think about my own life. And yeah, it's amazing to hear that kind of thing. It's kind of really what I want, really. That's the goal. Like, it's amazing to hear that. So yeah, and then like figure wise, it's done way better than I thought it would. They've the numbers have done really well, and I've released like different projects under different names in the past, but I made it and put a lot of energy and time into it, but never really bothered like pushing it when it was out, or like not. I just sort of made it for me, and then that was it. So I just put it out and was like, yeah, it is what it is. But this time I just really put energy into it and really wanted it to just some people to hear it, basically, other than my friends. And it's gone really well, and people have really liked it. And to be honest, it wasn't. I haven't been like daunted. It's not been daunting. It's been kind of exciting, actually, to just like get something out there that I'm really proud of, and being like, yeah, actually, I can actually push this now and be proud of it. With the other music I made, it wasn't fully me. Like, I just, you know what I mean? I was being a little bit like, rah, 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 rah. And then like, that is, I'm a bit like that, but not really. So I feel like that's probably why I never really super pushed it, because I was a bit embarrassed by it and I didn't know why. And now it's so personal. It's like, well, this is actually like super, super like me. So I'm more than happy to push it out and it be genuine, you know?
That's really nice to hear. And I think, yeah, I was going to say, for a lot of people, they might find the sharing themselves part of it, the daunting bit. And then, but if you found that quite natural, then the second bit is actually, like you said, I've made this and it's good now, and it's sort of on me to sort of actually not just let it sit in a corner somewhere. Like, it needs to come out and the world needs to see it. The tune that you mentioned, "Breathe." So I love the EP from start to finish. It's a proper, you know, put it on track one, press play. But equally, I'd be lying if I said I didn't have a special place for "Breathe." So to my mind, that was one of those tunes. I think that was as good as anything that came out in 2020. You know, I was listening to that. I was listening to that like 3, 4, 5 times a day at one point. I don't know what sort of listener you are. I'm very much a sort of, I get addicted to a tune sort of listener, and I was just all over that tune for a little while.
Okay,
I want to ask you a little bit. So to me, it sounds a particularly special song. There's something, whether it's the beat is obviously great, and then there is just something about it that just stands out a little bit. Did that song feel special to make, or did it sort of get on the rest of it? Does that make sense? Did you know?
Yeah.
You like,
I know what you mean. Like,
this is really, 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 like, I'm really hitting it now. Or
yeah, well, not at the time. I made the beat, and then I was playing with my housemate at the time. It was like it's probably like last year, maybe like June time, and my housemate, like, amazing guy. He's moved out now, which is a shame because he's amazing. And I would just play him every single beat all the time. He must have got so annoyed. I was like, every day I'd be like, what do you think of this? What do you think of this? So he heard everything. And I played "Breathe" to him, the beat, and he was like, this is cool. I like this. Like, so I was like, okay, I'll write something. So I wrote the first verse, played that to him. He was like, yeah, this is good. Did the chorus, just sort of like repeated what I thought I heard in the song, and then like tied it to the lyrics, and then wrote the second verse. And he was like, yeah. And his reaction showed me that it was like a decent song. I was like, okay, he likes it. And then I went like camping with a bunch of mates, and I played a couple of tracks and I played "Breathe," played to a mate, Roop, as well, and they were just like, this is the one. They're like this, and they were like, just put "Breathe" back on. It was called Gospel at the time, I think. They were like, put Gospel on. So I knew that was the one that was probably going to do better than the others. You know? Does
it on any level, does it make you feel sad for the other tracks or not? See, because I really like the penultimate track. I can't remember what it's called. It's got a slightly fast.
I like to be alone.
That's the last one, isn't it? I thought.
Oh yeah, that's what I thought you said. Sorry, the last one.
The penultimate.
Oh,
looking at now.
"Father in the Mist," I think that is.
Nip out is the
Nip
one.
Out. Oh yeah, Nip Out.
And so I wonder whether when you've got a standout track, does that make you feel a bit sad for the other ones or not?
Yeah. I think I should have released it differently.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Because
I don't. It's a funny one because I made all of those songs probably in like the space of like 2 months, and then but I haven't stopped making music. So it gets to the point where you've got this back catalogue, and obviously like you just prefer the stuff that you've made most recently. It's just like always the way it is. Like, even if the song you've made is decent, it's just like, man, it's old now. I've heard it before. So I was either not going to release those songs on the album and just keep releasing like new stuff that I was making, or just put it into an EP. But I think, maybe if I'd have just like released it on their own, I would have been able to give them all the attention But I'm happy that it's a project and it's going out. And you know what? Also, what's really funny is when it was released, loads of different people messaged me saying that their favorite song was different songs.
That's good.
So like, it shows that people listen to it and actually like didn't just go, you know what it's like. You just pick the one with the most numbers and go, yeah, that's the best one. So it's nice. It's nice that people, listen to one. Yeah.
Look, I feel like we've geeked out enough on the music production process.
Yeah.
But let's go to your first wonder of the world, which is your possession, which is your computer. So I'm guessing the reason that your computer's on there is because that's where you're making your music, Sudders. Is that right?
Yeah, it's my lifeline. Yeah.
And how long are you spending roughly a week, do you think, on that computer making music?
Oh, man. Hours.
Do you ever make yourself go to do it, or is it just always as and when? Is it struggle to get yourself off it?
It's as and when. It's
right.
I do struggle to stop. Like once I start, it's really, really actually sometimes, mate, like I'll know that I've got to go somewhere at 1 o'clock and it's 12:55 and I'm like, Jack, I'm telling myself, I'm like, Jack, don't start, like don't do anything. And then I'll play a song that I'm working on. Like I'll just listen to it. I'll like trip myself. I'll listen to it, and I'm like, oh, it does need a bit of a snare change. And before I know it, mate, it's like 1:30. I'm like, can I swear?
Yeah, go.
I'm like, shit, I'm late, and that happens all the time. So yeah, but I use it for other stuff as well. Like I make videos as well and podcasts. So it's like, I just, it's my I use it all the time. It's so worth however much money I've spent on it. So,
and in terms of the music production element of it, what do you ever? Because obviously the EP is self-produced. You're writing your own rhymes and then you're performing your rhymes as well. Do you have a favourite element of that, or does it all feel like a sort of equal weight?
Yeah, I prefer making beats 100%. Definitely. Yeah, I prefer making beats 100% because there's just no pressure. I feel like with writing, it's because it's so honest and like I have to really think about it. I don't want to just be dumb. So it takes a lot more work. Whereas with beat making, it's like the whole process is fun. Like you add the drums, it sounds nice. You have the sample, it sounds nice. You're playing the keyboard, making the bass. It's like every bit of it is like, it doesn't get boring except from the mixing bit where you're like figuring out the saturators and the EQs. That can get a little bit, but pretty much, it's wet. But then the rapping is like, oh God, right. Don't be shit here. Write some actually good lyrics here that's meaningful. I'm making a song at the moment, and I swear to God, I've made about 4 different choruses, and now I'm like, it doesn't work. So yeah, that's definitely the more strenuous bit.
And the way that you're making music, so I'm picturing it. You're in your room, you're on the computer. That's sort of quite a solitary process. Like you might dip out to play it to somebody.
Yeah.
When you see, rap documentaries or hip hop documentaries, we tend to have like 15 people in the studio, all partying and stuff like that. It looks like a very different sort of way that music was made. I suppose technology is a massive part of it, isn't it? It's enabling people to do it in their rooms. Do you ever think, I would like to have a go and see if I could do it the old school way, or is the computer just like, that's totally me, that's where I'm at?
Yeah, definitely. 100%. It's way better on my own. I don't have to worry about what people think. I can be like stupid and experiment and be weird. And also because my production work like often, so I mean, I'll do it in different ways. Sometimes I'll make a beat and then like write a couple lines and then record the lines in, and then hear how they sound, and then like hear what needs to go next. Or sometimes I'll write the whole 16 and then put it on. But then I'll just so quickly want to be like, right, I'll change the snare here, take the snare out here. Add some drums in. And I think if there was lots of people in the room, it would just slow down. I'd just be slower at working because I'd be distracted, be people laughing, chatting. Quiet, everyone, please. Need to record. Like, I don't get that on my own. I just do it. So.
And I suppose so. I'm guessing I'm a little bit older than you, Sudders. How old are you? When were you born?
26.
26. Yeah. So I've got a decade on you. So when I was coming up, that the option of basically people making music on their computer wasn't really a thing. It's something that I suppose the people from your generation onwards just take for granted now, which this is making me sound like a very, very old man, but it's actually quite incredible.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. Like, I do definitely appreciate it, because like when I grew up, I couldn't do that, and I didn't have computers that were good enough. So yeah, but obviously, I do think about that sometimes. I think about, like, if my dad had a computer, like, and he was born in my generation, would he have a completely different career? Would he be doing music as well? Because it's just so accessible to do this stuff. Like, I can download a plugin for £100, and that would be like an actual audio interface, real thing that I'd have to put into a like a whole system and pay for it and rent out the studio. Or actually, I just spend some money online and download it onto the computer. So, yeah, man.
Features for technology. So, from your own music making career to your choice of album today, which is Panic Prevention by Jamie T. So that's one of the reasons I wanted to know how old you were. So, I don't know if you realise this, but your film, your album, and your book all came out in 2007, which is...
Did they?
Yeah, is incredibly well linked there. So that would
2007.
So how old would you have been when this album came out?
12.
Okay, so you're actually a little bit younger than I thought you might have been.
But 12. But I didn't hear it until I was about 15.
Really?
I was late, really late to Panic Prevention. I actually had terrible music taste when I was younger.
Right.
Really terrible. My parents didn't actually play that much music. I've later found out that they played a lot of jazz, which makes sense because I love jazz.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really my friends that recommended me stuff, and then they recommended me Panic Prevention, and I listened to it, and I just was like, "Oh my god, this is amazing!" I loved it so much, and I think, and actually going back to it when I'm older, I don't really listen to it now, but I just like I love the fact that it's so feels like really kind of punky, but then hip hoppy, and I like how there's so much emotion in his lyrics. Like it sounds like he's drunk and swaying around, and then every single beat is so creative. If you really listen to like how they are layered and the things they use, there's like a bit in it where it drops and you can hear like doors creaking, like and it's just you'd never put those things together, and I just think it's a really, really impressive body of work. And I'd listened to it so much when I was younger, and I've seen him perform live loads of times. He's awesome.
So there's a couple of interesting things about it for me. It's really interesting that you say you weren't into it when it first came out, because for me this was one of those sort of moment albums which just seemed sort of really of its time, and it sort of seemed to capture something that was happening. A bit like the Streets album, it was just like it's something that was new, and it just felt very, very big at the time. And I have to say, so around the time it came out, I was probably sitting on a ridiculous high horse of music and sort of looking down my nose at this, because I at the time I felt like it wasn't real hip hop and all those sorts of things. That, and the singles off it were massive, weren't they? And then, but when I went back to listen to it after seeing that you'd chosen it for one of your choices, like you said, the thing that stands out now, sort of, what are we, 13 years down the line, is actually his ability to craft a song is actually really, really impressive. If you leave the sound of the lyrics and the vocals aside, there's a lot going on musically, isn't there? There's a track on there called Operation, which is reminding me a bit of sort of like if the Beach Boys' Good Vibrations was done by somebody who was smashed out of their face on vodka. It's just layers and different sections, It's really, 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 I actually really enjoyed it loads more than I thought I was going to, because like I said, at the time when it came out, I reacted to it a little bit and was like, who's this kid, thinking he's rapping. Which I suppose shows, the arrogance of my youth there. But it is actually a really good album, and actually it's dated better than I thought it would have done.
I think so. Like, I listened to it and I didn't feel like, this feels really like, but maybe thing is though, it's difficult because it's linked to nostalgia with me. So, it's like, obviously you're going to enjoy something that you're nostalgic about from your youth, from like when you were younger.
I dare say that for anybody, the music that they listen to sort of 15, 16, 17, that is a very sort of specific part of your life, isn't it? Where you sort of first get into music and get into it. Would you Was he an inspiration for you in any way in terms of your own music or?
Yeah. I like how he is quite melodic with the way he like raps but sings at the same time, and I like how his beats always change up. So there's a song called Pacemaker, and then there's a trumpet bit for a bit, and then it goes, and you don't hear the trumpet again. I think that's wicked. Like every four, there's something new. Every four beats, there's some sort of new instrument, or he changes how he sings, and I just think it keeps it really interesting, and I really like that. And I also like his social commentary. I think I mean, maybe it's probably a bit played out now, but I like the way I just like the way it's done, being like this kind of drunken person in the side of the bar commenting on how crazy the world is and how he just wants to fuck around. I don't know. I just like
I know
that.
what you mean. There's lots of little snippets, isn't there? You can just sort of pick out. Definitely. So yeah,
and one last thing. All of his intros, if you listen to his album, there is not one boring intro. Like the start of every song, there's something that grabs your attention straight away. It's like, wah, wah, and then it will start or whatever it is. But I love that. There's no time to like mess around with this slow like. Nah, it just goes in. And I like that.
Yeah, it's definitely got the energy, hasn't it? So, from your favourite album to your choice of film, because I'm guessing this was again as a 15-year-old, I'm guessing you were just loving this with your mates. The film that you've chosen is Hot Fuzz. So I don't think I saw this when it first came out, and when I saw that you'd chosen it, it looks on the tin, it looks like a fairly sort of, what's the word? It's just like a sort of bit of a silly mess around comedy, isn't it? With a sort of a loose horror thriller sort of theme underneath, but basically it's sort of a bit of a giggle film.
Yeah.
Is that all it was for you at 15, or did you find some deeper meaning in there that I've missed?
Yeah, some deeper meaning, 100%. Okay. It's the best British. It's the best. One of my favorite. It is definitely my favorite film, and I grew up in the countryside, yeah.
Right.
So to see a film about the countryside, it was just like, wow, it's so similar to how I grew up in so many ways. It was so relatable. I just found it so much funnier, like without realizing it, like the characters, I can kind of recognize all of those characters. There's like old women in stores that don't want too many people in their store, or like just kind of creepy doctors. And I just love all of that. And also Edgar Wright, who directed it, I think is amazing. He's a genius. He's so good at pacing a film. He really keeps your interest. He does like these things. He does it in all his films when there's a transition and it's something boring. For instance, like Sergeant Angel, the main guy, the policeman, he travels from the country, and the way most directors just they kind of get like an overpan shot, of a train, and then like you get his ticket. But he's just like puts in jokes and like, and it's quick transitions, and you're just like, whoa, and he drags you through it. And I think he's really good at that. And, he storyboards everything. He draws every single shot out through the whole film before it's made. So everyone knows exactly what shot they want. And if you look at the storyboard compared to the actual film, it's so similar. You're like, wow, amazing. And I watched a writing thing they did about it. And like from their first notes was like their flip chart of all the things they wanted to achieve in the film and like what the characters were like. And so many of the things that they wrote down were in the film. And I just found that amazing. Like from the first draft that they wrote actually came into fruition. So yeah, and it's so funny. I just think it's a great film. I love it.
So you're obviously quite a film buff then, Sudders, because you're talking about this film in a very good amount of detail. I'm enjoying that. So for anyone who hasn't seen it, basically it's about it's a London cop, isn't it? He moves out to a sort of rural village, and it's that aspect of it that you were talking about, presumably, with just sort of quaint village, or it's like a big village, small town, is it? Sort of that sort of vibe, where everyone sort of knows everybody, and there's the characters and all that sort of thing. Now that you're living in the big smoke, how are you comparing those two existences, and do you ever miss the rural way?
It's funny that you asked that, because yes, I really do, especially at the moment. I live on a busy road. You might even be able to hear The traffic lights. I googled it, yeah, and they said the worst place that you can be polluted is by traffic lights, because that's where all the cars are idle, and that's exactly where I am. So I look out like, oh god. But yeah, I definitely miss it, man. Like I went home for a bit and I loved it. Like just taking the dog for a walk, doing country walks. Like, I'm definitely a nature boy. Like, I love it, man. It's so nice to be around night, like a really beautiful place. But I think at the moment, because there's nothing going on in London, it's like, it's obvious. Of course, I'd want to be somewhere where there's nothing going on, but it's really beautiful. So I think when things start happening again in London, then I won't miss the country as much.
And I'm guessing the 15-year-old you would have just been over the moon with the idea of ending up living in London and being where it's all happening. Is that right?
Yeah. I actually wanted to be a radio presenter.
Okay.
That's why my whole life I've wanted to, well, not anymore, but I wanted to be a radio presenter. So that was the dream. So I wanted to move to London and be on the radio. Yeah,
when you're growing up in a village like that, the feeling that just nothing's happening when you are, and it's all going on somewhere else, is something that I suppose, as a teenager, you don't have the wherewithal to go, actually, all the teenagers are just doing all the teenage things more or less everywhere they are, aren't they?
Yeah, it's true. Where did you grow up?
Similar. So I grew up in the sticks, yeah, and I had a similar feeling where I was just
whereabouts?
In Norfolk.
Oh yeah, my housemate is from Norfolk, the one that listens to my music.
Yeah, and yeah, I just remember feeling like, if I was somewhere actual where things were happening, then I'd be happening, and it would all be going on.
Yeah,
like I was just missing out so much. Whereas now, like I now look back at those times and go, "Oh, it's brilliant." I suppose that it must be such a common experience. So, from your film to your book, now this was my favourite of your choices. I hadn't read it before. It's 1,000 Splendid Suns. I'm going to try and sort of give everyone a bit of spiel in case they haven't read it before. So it's by Khaled Hosseini.
Yeah, Khaled Hosseini. I'm not sure how to pronounce it.
Yeah, and it's the guy who wrote The Kite Runner, actually, but it's his follow-up book. It spans about 50 years of life in Afghanistan throughout the civil war, involves the Taliban coming and taking over. And it basically follows two main characters, two females, Layla and Mariam, whose lives become sort of intertwined. And it's well, as you said to me, it's a really uplifting book. But as the saying goes, there's a lot of Shawshank before you get to the redemption, isn't there?
Nice.
It's quite a heavy going at times. Tell me about this book and what it means for you, Sudders.
I read The Kite. Have you read The Kite Runner?
No, I haven't. No.
Okay, so I read The Kite Runner because someone recommended it to me. I never read the blurb, the back bit of the book, because I feel like I'm always waiting to hear that bit to read that bit in the book. So I just go off recommendations usually, and someone said The Kite Runner. Read The Kite Runner, loved it, and then I loved it so much. I think because it's set in Afghanistan, that you are like, you're picturing a whole new world all the time, and it's so descriptive. And the author just paints the picture so well. He's so good at character development. You really feel like you know these people and you know where they are. And I just love being able to be in a different place completely in my head. It's just really interesting for me. So this book, I read it, and it's basically the same as The Kite Runner, yeah. But it follows a female. It's pretty much the same, but it follows a female. And it's so much better than The Kite Runner, I think. I don't know why it's not been made into a movie as well. Maybe it will do eventually. But I just found the story just so amazing. Isn't it so good? Like, it's just so heart-wrenching, and it's sad, and like, you want to cry. I don't think I've read many books that make me actually want to like cry. It's just so good. And the journey you go on, I don't really want to like ruin it for people, but I just really love the characters and picturing and learning about things as well. So like they use the language of the country in certain bits, and you have to sort of figure out what they are, and you know it's interesting.
There's two things you mentioned there that I definitely recognise. So the first one is that aspect of just being transported somewhere. It's it's like going to a different world. And I think that is true of the fact that it's set in Afghanistan, but then also the fact that it's, if you're a bloke reading it, the fact that it's about female lives so much and their experiences, I found that sort of side of it as well, was just like going to a different world in that sense. And the other thing that you've mentioned about it is how emotional it is. What I found about this, I don't know if you agree with this, is a really sort of moving book, and yet he doesn't really spend a lot of time talking about emotions or trying to get you to sort of, it feels like he doesn't spend any effort trying to make you emotional or trying to make you connect with emotionally. He just tells a really good story in quite a direct way, which then elicits those emotions in you, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so true. It's quite like matter of the fact, isn't it? Many times, which makes it more brutal.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, right, okay. So like there were explosions and people died. Right, okay.
Yeah.
Bloody hell. And it's so removed from like how we live in England, in rural England, or in, you know what I mean? It's like, fuck, this actually happens. Like, it's just, yeah, I think it's quite, it made me really like appreciate my own life a lot more. And especially when you read, and I think you're a really good point actually about like looking into like the woman side of it. Because when you read The Kite Runner, it's all about a male side, and then you read the female side, and it's like, geez, this is a whole nother level of control. You know, they have to wear burqas, and they're forced to. Well, this woman is, and yeah, it was, really. I felt like I learned a lot as well as just reading something enjoyable.
Yeah, no, definitely. A genuine thanks for sending that my way. It's a book that I've been, shouting people out. You've got to read that.
Right.
Really, it's like gone right up into my list of top fictional novels. Brilliant, really good.
Wow, great. Yeah.
So from your book to your next choice. In some ways is like really obvious, but in some ways is really surprising. I think that's because although we've already talked about how your rap music might be in some way different to a lot of the rap music that's out there, a lot of the rap music we grew up with, you are still sort of an MC, and the idea that you chose as your person, your girlfriend, to sort of, I was like, oh, a rapper talking about his girlfriend, that's a bit weird. So, but also really obvious. So let's hear a little bit about your special person, this the girlfriend of yours, Sudders.
Yeah. Oh God, it's going to be a bit wet now, isn't it? Well, I can only pick one person. I thought it wasn't fair to pick either my mum or my dad.
Yeah.
So that ruled them out. I've got sisters. They're both twins, and God forbid if I pick just one of them. So I thought I'd pick my girlfriend, and also she's been really influential, especially with the music stuff. Like with the album, I probably wouldn't have made it. So like, how I was saying like before, it was all a bit like rah. Yeah, I feel like if I made that music and played it to her, she'd be like, "What the hell is this, Jack? This isn't you." You know what I mean? This isn't you, mate. So she's really been like, made me look into myself a lot more than anyone has ever. She's my first like person I've gone out with, so like properly, really. So I've never like really had to look into myself that much, and yeah, she's made me do that. So it's made the music a lot better for it, and it's made myself a better person as well, because I can actually like see where I'm going wrong and see where I'm going right and adjust it, instead of just sort of live in my own world constantly and not have to, it's weird, isn't it? Like when you're in a relationship, you start to notice things about yourself that you never usually would, and it's just interesting. And I think those things have come out in the music. I'm like, oh, really? I do that a lot. Okay, so I do this, so then I can put it into music, and also I play her a bunch of stuff, and she said stuff to me before like, "Jack, you're mumbling. I can't hear anything you're saying here. You're just like, you're mumbling through the track." And you know what? My mates would never say that. They'd just be like, "Yeah, stick. Yeah, this is cool." But she's honest, and it's I need that. I need someone to actually tell me that. I can't understand what you're saying here, Jack.
So it sounds like she's playing a dual role in your life here. She's sort of like this emotional guru, but then also this quite hard-nosed manager.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, who's getting me no gigs though? Actually getting me 0 gigs.
Taking a decent cut. How long have you been together?
Like a year and a half, not that long, like a
Okay.
year and a half.
So I always think the second year is where the business gets done. I don't know if this is completely made up theory that I have, but first year is all good times, and then second year is sort of transitioning from the sort of initial
honeymoon period,
to sort of like a full-on relationship. There's a lot of negotiation goes on in the second year. Is that fair to say?
Mate. Negotiation is a nice way to put it. Yeah, let's leave it at that. A lot of back and forth. A lot of back and forth.
Yeah. And is she? You said it's your first relationship. That must be. I'm guessing so. There's like two things at the same time. There's her, but then also being in a relationship as well. Do you sort of work out which one's which, if that makes sense?
What do you mean?
So there might be things about her that you really like or don't like, but then there also might be things about being in a relationship that you really don't like or do like, and there might be two different things. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. No, she's amazing. She's so patient and really kind and really thinks about other people way more than I do, if I'm honest with you. And she's engaged in things, and she's got so much enthusiasm for like things like theatre. She's amazing at theatre. It's unbelievable. You tell her ask her anything about theatre and she'll know it. And so she's like opened doors for me and made me see things that I'm like, wow, this is really interesting. So yeah, it's wicked. I like her as a person as well as just a partner.
I can feel, I don't know about you, but as maybe this is just me and my friends, but as blokes of a certain age, like we have these people in our lives, our partners, who are a massive part of our life. We don't often talk about them to our mates or people. You know, I think that's still. I don't know whether younger males are doing that more now, but certainly amongst people, me and my mates in my generation, it's still something that we're not very comfortable doing or wouldn't do very often.
Have you ever done it? Do you think?
What, talk to my friends about relationships and stuff?
Yeah.
Not like even just the detail that you've gone into there. Probably would never do that normally in general conversation. That makes me sound.
Why? Why do you think?
Yeah, it's great. Oh dear, I feel like the tide's turned here. So you've turned.
I'm interested. I'm interested. I want to know.
I don't know. Maybe I'm being unfair. Maybe I do. Maybe I would do it more. Maybe I have done it more than I realise. But I think it's definitely something. It's definitely something that I haven't done, or my friends don't do as much as they should do. Put it that way.
Yeah.
I suppose if I this is like a really trivial example, but if I compare the amount of time I spend talking to my friends about my relationship with my partner to the amount of times I might spend to them talking about hip hop or football, the weighting's all wrong. Does that make sense? I'm
the same though. I'm 100% the same. Of course, it's just a bit like, come on, mate, get off it. Why are you talking about your girlfriend? That's what it's like. Maybe. Do you think women talk about? Do you think it's the same?
No, I think they are better at that. They are better at that, definitely. It wouldn't be seen. Yeah. So I think, I don't know. We're getting into some deep theory here now, Sudders. But I think it wouldn't be seen as a sign of weakness in any way, and there wouldn't be mick taking. Whereas I think,
you become quite vulnerable.
Yeah.
When you're talking to your mates, and it's like you're opening yourself up here for a slaughtering.
Yeah.
It's just silly, really.
Well, I feel like we've done our bit there, Sudders. I feel like we've done our bit.
We've done it for the next 10 years. You know what I mean? Don't ask me. Listen to the podcast. It's all out there.
Check out the podcast. You can just listen to that. Put it all in a map.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I applaud you then anyway for going there. Obviously, it's in line with music. It's that ability to just open up. So you mentioned your family, though. Your mum, your dad, and your twin sisters. So I think we can have a look at that now when we talk about your place, which is St David's. Is that right?
Yeah.
So, I have no idea where St David's is. So start off with a bit of basic geography for me, Sudders, and then tell me what's going there.
Here's a fun trivia fact for you. St David's is the smallest city in Europe. It's based in West Wales in Pembrokeshire. Pembrokeshire is like the very west of Wales. So this is Wales. It's here, right here. And it's right on the sea. And it's got a cathedral, which is why it's the smallest city in Europe. And it's a place that me and my family went pretty much most years for like a holiday. And so it really just means a lot to me. I love it. Yeah, it's amazing. I go there. We used to go there all the time. So for Christmas, a few years ago, I'd be like 4 years ago, we decided as a family to not buy presents for each other because we did it weirdly. Like, I didn't like it. We all sat around in a circle and I opened it individually and looked at each other like, what have you got? Oh, a pair of socks. Oh, lovely. And I'm not good at I'm very bad at giving a fake reaction. So if I've got something frankly not that great, I have to be like, and they know. Anyway, so I said to my family, why don't, instead of that money that we're wasting on pajamas and socks, why don't we put it together as a pot and we go on holiday together as a family? So for pretty much all the Christmases, except from obviously this one, last one, we have gone somewhere in the UK and gone for holiday, and more often than not, it's St. David's. So it's a special place for me because, it feels like it's got nostalgia there, but also it feels like home. My parents are actually moving house, which is why I've got all of this stuff in my room's not usually like this. It's not usually like a car boot sale. And they're moving to Wales. They were going to move to St. David's, but it's quite expensive there, so we're going to move somewhere else, somewhere a little bit cheaper, but it's just as nice.
So, if you can resume your tourism board bit for me, what are we doing in St. David's?
What can you do there?
Yeah, what are you getting up to on these holidays?
Oh, mate, you've got walks, you've got seaside trips. There's White Sands. White Sands is lovely. Big. It's kind of in the name, really. Big sand, lots of white sand. It's just like country walks, man. Take the dog out, go around. There's like there's like shopping stuff going on there, but I'm not really into that. Nice pubs, loads of nice pubs, lots of flat cider. Is it flat? Is that what it's called when it's not fizzy? Is it just called flat?
Right. Okay.
Still cider, I think they call it. Lots of that. Lots of dogs. Lots of antihistamines for me. What else? Wrapping up warm. I think you get the idea.
Yeah, so no disrespect. It's not that there's anything in particular about St. David's. It's more the nostalgia that comes with it. Is that fair?
Yeah, pretty much. But it's a beautiful place. It's not like it's just some old coastline. It's amazing. I recommend you yourself to go to it. Are you still in Norfolk now? Yeah.
No, I live in Nottingham now, so I'm
London,
Nottingham. So I'm halfway there.
Right. Yeah. Well, I would fully recommend the trip, mate. It's amazing there. Or do you go to Wales often?
I've been, I think, twice in my life, maybe 3 times. Yeah, I'm not.
It's the one. You don't need to go abroad. I'm telling you, Wales is the one. It's beautiful there. Snowdonia I love Snowdonia so much, and all the mountain ranges, the seasides. It's gorgeous. You can go any time of the year and you'll have a good time there.
Have you taken your lucky lady, your better half there yet?
No, no, that's it. You know what I mean? When you said like second year is the business, it's a bit more of that's when you got to take it. You don't want to waste that trip in the first year. You got to build up to it.
Okay, so from St. David's to I've got this right now. Yeah, your last wonder of the world, which is your memory. So we're going back in time again. Tell us about your chosen memory for Wonders of the World today.
So when I was younger, before I wanted to be a radio person, be on the radio, which I still don't do. I wanted to be an actor, and my friend wanted to be a director. So we were about 15, 16. So we decided to make a film, and he bought a camera, which I've actually just sold on Gumtree for £30. But at the time it was more expensive than that. And we decided to make a war film called Fields of Yellow. So we spent probably like 200 quid, 300 quid on all this gear. I had like mad gear, mate. We stitched all of the paratrooper badges here. We made guns. They're like wooden guns. We were like, everything. This was a line. We're like, we'll fix it in post. We never did. And we scripted it, and we had 4 of us all dressed up in like full military gear, yeah. And we only had one real gun, an air rifle that we called the Sniper. And we would just basically film this stuff and run around the woods and pretend like we're in a war film. And mate, I'm telling you, it was so fun. other people, yeah, are getting like pissed on a couple of cans of Stella, like hanging out at the bus stop. I was getting dressed up as a paratrooper, Regiment 2, going out into the woods, having a pipe. We had pipes that we smoked cigarettes from, feeling classy as fuck. And then we just acted for a bit. We never did make the film.
So I've got to interrupt. We acted for a bit. So when you weren't acting, were you just playing with the guns, or what was happening in between the acting?
It was, looking back at the time, we thought like, this is professional. Looking back, it was anything but, mate. It was very rarely we do work.
No, I got to interrupt again. At the time, with your wooden guns, you thought it was professional. Was that not a slight giveaway?
We were so adamant that we could fix this stuff in post-production. We were like, we'll get it in the computer, we'll just stick some stuff of it, we'll get quick shots, it'll be fine. We were like, we'll add explosions. So there is stuff on YouTube. If you you can, but it's unedited. So it's edited, but we haven't put any VFX stuff. So you got the shots of me going like, pow, 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 but nothing's coming out the gun, mate. Oh, mate, it's tragic. But I tell you what, without doing it, I would never have learned. I learned so much from it. We made posters as well. So we made like full feature. My mate's dad worked in.
From it. What did you learn from it? Sorry, we'll go back to the posters. What did you learn from it?
We learned how to film. We learned how to crop and to film things, and it sparked my interest in video. And now I make videos all the time. And
okay, so go back to the posters then.
So my mate's dad, who's also the director, his dad is in the printing business. So we got full length. I don't have any full length poster of like me and like a few other people, and we like made it like Star Wars, mate. It was epic. Fields of yellow, printed out about 50, and went into school and stocked them all up around in all the tutor rooms. And yeah, man. But the film never came out. We just made loads of posters basically and a minute of reel, which was awful.
So does the film exist then? Is there like a film that you can sit and watch, or no? Just to see.
Oh no, God no. No, it was a total tragedy. It really failed hard. But we have got about 1.5 minutes footage. And that is really about it. We spent more time buyers and smoking cigarettes.
One thing I feel really confident about Sudders is if anyone's listening to this, they might check out the book. They might rewatch Hot Fuzz or listen to Panic Prevention. I really, really hope they'll check out your EP. But I am really confident they're going to search on YouTube Fields of Yellow, because I'm already looking forward to it. Like, I feel like there's great things are going to happen.
Thank you.
Is there any chance that the
irony was? Oh, I was going to say the irony was the whole film was set in France, and apparently they don't even have, because it's Fields of Yellow because it was in like a rapeseed field. But it turns out they don't even have that in France. The whole thing didn't even make sense in the first place.
You're going to get caught out there. What was I feel like I should ask what the plot was.
So there was a big mission in France. I'm really having to think now. There's a big mission in France, and they had to send the Paras in, to infiltrate the mission, and kill the main leader. And I was the head paratrooper, and I had a few others as well. And that was it basically. But it all kind of like, there was a character who didn't really like me, and there was a power struggle. But in reality, this guy didn't really like me, and there was a power struggle. So it was all quite realistic to the bone at points. He punched me in the arm, but a little bit too hard. We're friends now, I think.
Sudders, thank you so much for joining us today, giving up the time. Really appreciate it. It's been an absolute pleasure hearing about your wonders of the world. Like I said, anybody out there, definitely check out the EP. Have you got new music on the way?
Yeah, I'm releasing another song on the 2nd of April. So in a few, I don't know when this is going to come out.
I was going to say, is that are you thinking about building up to another EP or an album, or are you just dropping tunes as and when at the moment? Yeah,
so I was featuring C.W. Jones, who's like a singer from Bristol, and a guy called Mac Lloyd, who plays guitar in it. And then I've probably got about 10 other songs. So I'm going to release them. I'll probably release one every month. And like I was saying, like I wish I'd just released the singles. So I'm just going to release every single until it gets to a point back catalogue, and I'm like, you know what, I'll just release this as another project.
I look forward to hearing all of that. And when you've finished all of that, if you could get on with Fields of Yellow too, that'd be good for us all as well, I'm sure. Sudders, thanks for joining us today, mate.
Thank you.
Much appreciated.
If you'd like to find out more about today's guest or the Wonders of the World podcast, then you can check out our website or get involved in all the usual social media nonsense. Wonders of the World is a Borderline Niche production. We would just like to say thank you for listening.